Welcome back, everybody. So, it's been a couple of days, had a busy weekend, but we're going to dive back into John chapter 11. We did a little bit of this the other day at the end of chapter 10. We did through, I believe it was through verse 10 that we have already gone through. So, we're going to pick up, I'm going to read those, but we're not going to dive into them super far because we already did that, and then we'll keep going in verse 11. And I just want to remind everybody that the way that I study the Bible is to just let God kind of call out the things to me that He wants me to pay attention to or to dig into a little bit more, and I ask questions. He's not afraid of our questions, and there's not any shame to be had if you don't understand something. Right? We're not going to all understand. I mean, you could spend your entire life studying this book and you will still uncover new things. So don't let anybody shame you into thinking that you don't know enough to read the Bible, because that is not true. There's a reason that it is called the living word. This Bible will meet you exactly where you are, and He knows exactly what each of us need to hear. So just pay attention when you read to the things that He's pointing out to you and calling out to you. And if something really strikes you and is really asking you to focus on it, spend some time in prayer about that and see what He reveals to you, because that is where He speaks. All right, let's go ahead and start in chapter 11, verse 1. We'll do the part that we've already covered in our previous video really quick. Now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped His feet with her hair. So the sisters sent word to Jesus, "Lord, the one you love is sick." When He heard this, Jesus said, "This sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it." Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when He heard that Lazarus was sick, He stayed where He was 2 more days. And then He said to His disciples, "Let's go back to Judea." "But Rabbi," they said, "a short while ago the Jews there tried to stone you, and yet you are going back?" And Jesus answered, "Are there not 12 hours of daylight? Anyone who walks in the daytime will not stumble, for they see this world's light. It is when a person walks at night that they stumble, for they have no light." That verse just hit me differently. We were talking about it the other day. They tried to kill you. They tried to stone you, and yet you're going back. He's saying it's still daytime. We're not going to stumble. They're not going to be successful, because the time of darkness has not yet come. I don't know why it didn't click like that the other day. But this is what I mean, right? Every time you read it, there will be something slightly different that hits you. All right, picking up here then in verse 11. After He had said this, He went on to tell them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I'm going there to wake him up." His disciples replied, "Lord, if he sleeps, he will get better." He's resting. Don't wake him up. If he's sick, let him sleep. He'll get better. Jesus had been speaking of His death, but His disciples thought He meant natural sleep. So then He told them plainly, "Lazarus is dead, and for your sake I'm glad I was not there, so that you may believe, but let us go to him." Then Thomas, also known as Didymus, said to the rest of the disciples, "Let us also go, that we may die with him." That's such a cynical, kind of dark thing for Thomas to say here. Right? Now, Thomas is the one who, after Jesus is resurrected, he says that he can't believe that Jesus is alive unless he sees Him for himself. He sees the holes where the nails have pierced His hands and feet. And so Thomas is, he's not mentioned very much. I've actually searched to see, all of the different places where he shows up. There's only a handful of times. I think, because of this, he is also referred to as Doubting Thomas. That's where that term comes from in our modern vernacular. It's like, oh, don't be such a doubting Thomas. Right? Well, that's Thomas from the Bible. All right, so let us also go that we may die with him. I'm not sure if he's referring to him as Lazarus or him as Jesus, because they were just talking about the fact that the Pharisees had been trying to kill Jesus. And so is he saying, to the other disciples, let's follow Jesus, and when they kill him, they'll kill us too, right? Or is he saying, maybe we will die as Lazarus is dead and Jesus can save us too? I don't know. It's such a strange connotation. Let's just see in these other versions if there's anything. I've also found another version that I've been poking into recently. It's New American Standard Bible. 1995 is the one I've been using. It's a very literal, like word for word translation of what this said. So that one says exactly the same thing. Therefore Thomas, who is called Didymus, said to his fellow disciples, let us also go so that we may die with him. Let's just see. There's no notes on that in the Amplified version. I'm looking for a place that would tell us exactly what he might be referring to there. What does the Message say? That is when Thomas, the one called the twin, said to his companions, come along, we might as well die with him. So the Message version interprets this as him speaking to the other disciples, saying we may as well die with Jesus, is the way I take it. So, yeah. The Message is the only one that I can see that helps to clarify that at all. I don't know how accurate it is. I know Message does take some liberties, but they try to stay true, I think, to what the underlying meaning is. So, I don't know, but that's, we might as well die with him. Okay, where are we? Back to NIV. Verse 17 is where we're going to pick up. On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha answered, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die, and whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? Yes, Lord, she replied. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into the world. After she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. The teacher is here, she said, and is asking for you. When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house, comforting her, noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Is that the same thing that Martha said? Yeah. If you had been here, my brother would not have died. And Martha comes out with, I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask. So Mary, and notice Mary, I think she appears 3 times, and every time that Mary appears, she is at Jesus's feet in every single one of these times. She is anointing his feet with oil, with her hair. She is sitting at his feet while he is teaching, and her sister is preparing and serving everyone. And here again, she is at his feet once more. So she is, every single time that we see her, Mary is at the feet of Jesus. All right, when Mary reached the place where Jesus was, we're going to start again, verse 32. And saw him, she fell at his feet and said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. Where have you laid him? He asked. Come and see, Lord, they replied. Jesus wept. I wonder, is that one of the shortest verses in the Bible? It's 2 words. Verse 35, Jesus wept. I wonder, I mean, when he already has told his disciples that he's coming to raise Lazarus from the dead. He already knows that that's what's going to happen before he even sets out for Bethany. When Martha comes and kind of puts that accusation, like, if you'd been here, he wouldn't have died. But I believe that, even now God will give you whatever you ask. But when Mary comes and throws herself at his feet, and she is just crying, heartbroken, and those who followed her are also crying, he is deeply moved in spirit and troubled. Why would he be troubled at this moment if he knows that Lazarus is going to be raised from the dead? What is troubling him in this moment? Is it her that she did not pronounce the same type of faith that Martha pronounced? Where have you laid him? He asked. Come and see, Lord, they replied. Jesus wept. Surely he's not weeping for the death of Lazarus, because Lazarus is about to be raised. So why is Jesus crying right here? It must be for the lack of faith from Mary. Is there any other explanation here? Let's just see. Let's look at the Amplified Version. So there's Martha. Wait, there's a lot in here. Okay, let's scroll down. When Mary came to the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet, saying to him, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. When Jesus saw her sobbing, and the Jews who had come with her also sobbing, he was deeply moved in spirit to the point of anger at the sorrow caused by death, and was troubled. Okay, so there's a note here. So it says, in Greek, this term suggests an emotional indignation or sternness. Jesus was angry at the sorrow caused by death. It occurs 4 more times in the New Testament in reference to Jesus' words or his feelings. See Matthew 9:30, Mark 1:43, John 11:38, and that's just where we are, and John 13:21. Jesus was angry at the sorrow caused by death. I kind of want to chase down those other. Let me grab a little paper to write something on here. So we've got Matthew 9:30. It's after the Sermon on the Mount. Let's see, Mark 1:43, and the other one is John 13:21. We might trace those down here in just a second. Okay. All right. Well, that kind of answers that. Let's go ahead and look at these. Where else does this indignation come into play? Matthew 9:30. 9:30. This is a longish one. Okay, 30. So I'll start at 27. As Jesus went on from there, 2 blind men followed him, screaming loudly, "Have mercy and compassion on us, Son of David." When he went into the house, the blind men came up to him, and Jesus said to them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" They said to him, "Yes, Lord." Then he touched their eyes, saying, "According to your faith, it will be done to you." So here's verse 30. And their eyes were opened, and Jesus sternly warned them, "See that no one knows about this." So the note here says, the Greek, this term suggests an emotional indignation or violent displeasure. Okay. This one has a different, this also points to Mark 14:5. The other one did not have that. This one says that it's referenced 5 times in the New Testament. Looks like they have a little bit of a misalignment there on their notes. But we'll make a note of that one. All right, what's the other one? Mark 1:43. Mark 1:43. And Jesus, deeply moved, admonished him sternly and sent him away immediately, saying to him, "See that you tell no one anything about this, but go, show yourself to the priest." So that is the leper who came to him for healing and asked, if you're willing, you're able to make me clean. And so Jesus was moved with compassion and reached out and touched him and said, "I am willing, be cleansed." And the leprosy left him. Okay. What's 14:5? 14:5. 14:5. For this perfume might have been sold for more than 300 denarii, and the money given to the poor. And they scolded her, but Jesus said, "Let her alone. Why are you bothering her and causing trouble? She has done a good and beautiful thing to me." Where's verse 6? Does that skip a verse? Hold up. Is there a verse missing in Mark chapter 14? Like, that was removed at some point? It goes from 4 to 5. Oh, there's 6. Okay. So it starts with Jesus's response. I could not see it. Okay, so, but there's no reference in this one. No note about that. Although he is, in the next one, kind of scolding others for, well, it says, "And they scolded her." So maybe it's their scolding of her that this word is used in. Oh, I need to start digging further into these Hebrew words. All right, John 13:21. What's in 13:21? After Jesus had said these things, he was troubled in spirit and testified and said, "I assure you and most solemnly say to you, one of you will betray me and hand me over." Yep. Okay, so I'm not entirely sure about how it must be buried somewhere in the Hebrew words of this, of how they know that he is angry at the suffering and the sorrow caused by death. I don't know that I fully see it in the English translations, but maybe there's something else in there. Okay. So, according to whatever we have found here in this little rabbit trail, he's not upset at Mary for her not professing the same kind of faith maybe that Martha had, but upset with the power of death, which he has come to break. So, all right. So, where have you laid him? He asked. We're going to pick up in verse 35. Again, Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, "See how he loved him." Actually, it's not a question. Exclamation point. "See how he loved him." It's like a declaration. But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" Everybody is divided. There's that division again. Every time that the crowds observe what Jesus is doing, they fall on one side or the other. They're either seeing his, right now, half of them are seeing, how much he loved Lazarus. They're seeing the love of God, and the others are condemning him for not doing something sooner. Oh, man. How often do we do that? How often do we say, well, if God had only intervened, if God had only answered my prayer, if God had only... All right. Verse 38. Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. "Take away the stone," he said. "But Lord," said Martha, the sister of the dead man, "by this time there is a bad odor, for he has been there 4 days." Ugh. I mean, would you want to see your sibling exhumed from their coffin after, if he's been in there for 4 days and probably was dead for a few days before that? Would you want to see that? So she's like expressing this hesitance, like, do you want to do that? So in this, Martha is also not fully trusting the decisions that are being made by Jesus, because she's questioning his actions. She's coming from her own place of human sadness and probably horror at the thought of seeing her dead brother after 4 days in this tomb. Then Jesus said, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" So he kind of rebukes her, right? She has professed her faith just right before this. You can do it. If you ask it, God will do it for you. And now that she's there and she's looking at the prospect of seeing her brother, she has those doubts that are coming in. So they took away the stone. Verse 41. Then Jesus looked up and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me." When he had said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth around his face. Jesus said to them, "Take off the grave clothes and let him go." It's a little weird to me that they use the term "the dead man came out." Like a zombie. The dead man. He said he's not a dead man anymore, he's alive. I wonder, do they all kind of do that? Let's see. Out came the man who had been dead in the Amplified version. I like that a little bit better. I don't like the walking zombie version of NIV that we've got going on here. Yeah. Out came the man who had been dead, his hands and feet tightly wrapped in burial clothes, and with a burial cloth wrapped around his face. And Jesus said to them, "Unwrap him and release him." I think we'll actually stop there for today, where Lazarus has come out of the tomb, and we'll go into the plot to kill Jesus in the next one. So thank you for following along today. I hope that there's been something in this that was helpful for you. I think I got a few things out of it myself today. I'll have to write to the NIV folks and ask them to remove zombie Lazarus and replace him with Lazarus, who is now not a zombie but alive. Just kidding. I'm probably not going to do that. If you want to, go ahead. I pray that the rest of your day today is full of joy and full of love, because it was love that moved everything that Jesus did. It all started in love. So let it start there for you today as well. God bless you, and I love you. Have a great day.